Beverly,
Yeah.
there's on my table where I sit, there's two extra King of Aspiration prayers.
Got it. Paula, is it going to be screen shared? Paula, will that King of Aspiration prayer be screen shared?
It's the intention to do that, yes, but I'm hoping that we have the same version because the plan was to use the one that we use every night at 8:30 on the screen share. I'm not sure if you can hear me.
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Hi, hi, Beverly.
From that.
So the one that was passed out is the.
Go ahead and screen share it now so they can see if it's the same.
Oh, it's not, I know it's probably not the same, but I will because Lincoln was just trying to say it's not, it's different, but hang on a second.
Not so much, but you could just tell me who the translator is. Now I definitely can't see it. Hold on.
I put it on the screen share. This is the one every night.
Who's the translator of the paper copy?
Jesse Fenton.
Yeah, it's a different one.
Okay, so James, you want to do in charge of that screen sharing then, please?
I don't have it.
Jesse Fenton, he said.
It's not the one on the screen.
When I talked to Kathleen, I'm pretty sure she thought we were also going to be using this version, so just would tell me what to do.
Why don't we use, can we use the one that's on the screen? Can we go ahead and do it?
I don't know that we have copies for everybody.
No, I mean, can we all look at the screen?
If it's big enough, you should all just be able to look on the screen and watch.
Is it big enough?
Yeah, it's big enough.
So let's just look at the screen.
When I'm screen sharing, I can't see the screen, the TV screen in the Dharma Center.
She can't hear what you're saying, though.
Oh.
If you tell her.
No, we can hear you.
Oh, we can?
I can barely hear. So if you can see it on the screen, should we just go for this one?
Yeah, go with the one on the screen.
I didn't hear what Beverly said.
Use the one on the screen.
Okay, good.
What do you think? We use the one on the screen and people can follow the screen, or should we have two different translations, there are different versions.
Yeah, if you see the screen, that's good.
This is the one we taught on, and this is the one they use all the time.
Yeah.
The one that we use at night.
Which one?
This one on the screen.
Okay, that's one.
Is this Elizabeth?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah, we should have lots of copies of this version. I don't know why we don't have
We
it.
need a picture, Tibet picture.
The Tibetan picture of what?
The prayers, book, prayer book.
Oh, the prayer book, okay. Yeah.
And you don't
You
start.
guys go ahead.
We start now. Okay.
Okay. Page 5 in the prayer book. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness which is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. It's page 7. Whatever merit I've gathered through prostrations, offerings, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying, for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. And to page 16. Please turn the wheel of the Dharma of the two vehicles and their combination according to the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings. So
Tender don't be a church and children, Bebas and Brando, Bottom Jinder, Yashin, no more, Yala, Yakin, on the Jiki, Dom, Yakin, on the Wagon, Yaki, Jets, and Bottom Jiki, Good evening. Today, 다 단단 가서 통말 응원으로 달라 랍 세야 되라. 베지나도 통말 응원으로 달라 랍.
So in the text, the first part is, as it says in the beginning, who we train in the preliminaries.
다 단계 가서 텐저니 가와스 디스콤바데 티니다 단다디 쳔메타와 차리오레스.
So first, the first of the preliminaries is reflecting on the difficulty of achieving a human rebirth with leisures and endowments. And then the second preliminary is reflecting on impermanence and death.
다 제타 가서 다 디텐더 위치위나 지 망보요레 티니 치 노진직템 메차 마타와 당다 non 주지 심체 메타올라 소보요레 이네야다 조 가서 디 가서 체메타와 세야디 다 공고한 로직 차디오레스.
So again, you know, there are a lot of kind of details that we could go into regarding the reflection on impermanence, like the impermanence of the outer world, the impermanence of inner inhabitants, the impermanence of this life. So mainly what we're focusing on here is the impermanence of this life and the impermanence of sentient beings, to sort of understand our own impermanence.
티니다 가서 섬노 야고다나 세나리다 강타 가서 섬노 다나 하코기오레스 다 나랑케 탄다 냠뇽로지 세나리다 코맥 통데와데 섬노 당비나 달롱가서 정보는 뭐치게 당가조 넘버레 티니다 제상가서 다 배치하면은 네, 다 1992네, 1992라 가서 금지 치버래. 대 금지 치도
Gumji-sena?
오프닝 세레모니로 모나스트리 노그레.
Yeah, okay.
티네 송데다 가서 진다 고에키나라 라바 투치한테라. 다 배치하면은 로 딱파트인데 티네 딱 가추든데 요레스.
Buddha Gupa. Buddha Gupa.
말이 뭐지나 보러.
Ochida.
노노 소리 본다고 고와 고엘라고 되죠. 내가 저 데려와 노벰버.
So, you know, if we think about it, like also reflecting on our own experience, so like, for instance, whether, you know, His Holiness Drikung Kyalgan Chetsang Rinpoche, you know, just gave the transmissions of the Damgangso, and then also in 1992, they had their opening ceremony of, the monastery, Jangtubling in India. And this was on Thlabap Duchin, the ninth of the ninth month of the Tibetan lunar calendar, and then that became the time then when, like every year, there would be teachings on the ninth month of the lunar calendar.
어때 팀도 다 같이 팀도 속되게 가려다 가서지 라마 라첸 세나리 다 라마 gemba 세나리 다 팀도 두군까지 나라 다 치로 두군까지 많이 받아 요러와 이내야 두군까지 나라 팀네 라마 mambo지 요레스.
And that's a time when, many like, lamas, all of the senior lamas, every year, all of the lamas of the Drikung Kagi lineage would gather.
Senior,
senior, all the senior lamas.
Lama Gemba Tinde, Yore Benachacha Wenda, Wantu Rimboche, Donde Rimboche, Ayan Rimboche, Jerwoche Rimboche, La Sobetini, and that Lama Gemba Mambo, Yores, Yine Yang, that Talo, Roa, Damganzola, that Karsenaji, Namjuke, Yu Devi Ketine. 다 라말라치에서 다 강지 요머 zero 탈로 가주들라 다 가두는 용용도 거리스로 가두 가주서는 용용도 그래서 이네 particular 탈론다 오이나 다 라말라치 수지 요마레스 라마 gemba 수지 요마레스.
So Ondrum Bache, Gyabarum Bache, Shimbasu Lavian, the Ladaki Lama Kande? Ladaki Lama de Gyabodin. Tongden. So, like all of these senior lamas who are no longer with us would always be there, like Ondro Rinpoche, Gyabo Rinpoche, Togden Rinpoche, Ayang Rinpoche. And now during the Dangakzo, the zero, there were none of the older lamas that used to always be present were there.
Right, so every year, sort of like, even though last year, I think this, we called Simjungkawa, Hirawasti. So last year, there are few, the older lamas, and also, so this year is not. For that, Tindi Indu, Tanga Soji, that Namjuli, this sensitive to chatting, those Narando Zamotana. 남주 고 시기 요와 희행그레 메타와 요와 희행그레 디나야다 디스지 갈색거 더등 나와나는 효침을 랩기가 말와 인타야 보자모다나 비하사야 기직 메타와서야 대 효침보도 지트네 나와 차온 것도스.
And so in his own case, it makes him a little bit sensitive to the reality of, imminent death. Because even though we know the truth of impermanence, we know it conceptually, when we really see the signs like this, then it really brings it home.
어디 인도 가장 쉬워래 된다가서 지 현도그레 랍도야 되게 그 등에 동양으로지 차디어 말와 그게야 이바다 랑이래 다티 수지 가토고 말이라 대 그 갈색부터 내초로와 랑이 이내야 지금 가서 희그리 잠벨로 줄라 마치도 가서 투조데 졸라만 보지 땅리어와 되네다 가서 될라 해야래 잠비 클로 줄래지 제송나 다 가르치 그래 좀다 개와 도야 팀바래 팀다 개와 도야 되더니 지금 가서 메타와다 베미시위게 메타와다 하코나 되는 거네 배매시비 게 메타와서야 돼 자첨보 메타와다 가디 첨보 카리스는 당가서 탈라팀부게 투주요와다 해주 맞았다 탈라팀부에서나고 오케이 당가서 투주 가세요나 돼 투주
Interesting new word, 가리 탈라팀부스나. 탈라팀부스나.
데서 또 점로와
Yeah.
되는 가서 개와도가 코카비오레스 테마토다 어디에니티네 당가서 같이 그래서 메타와 고무해도 희그리 잠베케 로티 리티나야 다 희기도 다 같이 고래 자면서 뭐 다는 거서 주탈라 정부 로보야 돼 개정부 인사です.
So, you know, it isn't like we, in being really aware of impermanence and death, that we suffer more or we need to suffer more or become depressed. But it's more that, you know, really seeing what is natural, that nobody can stop this process. We're constantly moving towards death very quickly, in fact. And so the effect, rather than making us feel depressed or making us suffer more, it's more like we can become really intent on not wasting time. So because we already have had so much time pass, and the habits of just kind of letting time be wasted are very strong. So when we are really clear that we're going to die soon, then this can become a real inspiration to make sure that we don't waste time, that we spend our time meaningfully, and most importantly, that we're really committed to practicing virtue. And so it's really special to understand the truth of impermanence. It's really, really profound. And in fact, we feel that the truth of impermanence is doing us a great service. It's actually showing us great kindness, because it is inciting us or inspiring us to practice virtue. And so, and the reality is that we are going to die. We're going to die soon, whether we meditate on impermanence or not. This is not a fact that will change.
제가 나기다 펜도 첨부지 가리요레 슬라비나 또 메타와라지 콤네 와 메타와 콤네스야 데 칼라고르나 온가 히그레 잠바지 로주레 제디 요나 티네 다코 히위니 모들라 그 야본으로 지금 거로 다 콜랩송 잠바 빼는 것도 데려와 빼는 차샤위는 것은 리와지 레고요레스 guest chỉ lệp gì rồi làm nào đó thằng bố lệp gì bảo học rồi
Guest.
rồi chỉ lệp gì rồi làm cái đó thế này ta ngã chỗ khó khăn đi này chỉ lệp cái là thế này tham ăn có lệp cái đó thế lệp nó ta ngã accept được cái thằng bố lệp gì làm rồi lệp gì bảo học rồi ngã chỗ lệp gì bảo học thế lệp ngã chỗ cao này chỉ lệp cái đó có lệp xong thằng đấy xong đâu chứ thế nào gì cái ngã chỗ ta thằng ta chỉ 케네칼라 추체 메타와 임바데 해 힌도야 임바랑 임바데 하코 틴디지 인도 당가서 삼 하코고로 understand 삼 하코에 가는 니마지 히비니 뭐다 히사레서 니투지 총거와 대 총배가 대 도와 딱타레 다 코티 대 코탕기 게스레버나고 다 히아레 하스 something 거 다동고 흘러오는 라이와 다 레서 당가서 거 prepare your와 어디 개체물에 스테마도 당가서 참래 이제 메타와 마장마다 참마치나서 하고 그래 이제 희련 갈라테네 매 항상 이렇게 동에 나체기 동에 대가 나기 기타 가서 되어와 신로사리 잠베게 되네 즉 토파 나 희기면 잠바 다 대고 잠베게 레와 어다 틴리게 고베지 신로의 투수티 강라테네 배 칼세 거다 obstacles in the penyora ji dungi mambo che gangla ji nga chuta ti nambe ke ta arsena the suffering ye go suffering se aji suffering of suffering oda tenda wo tene chagyo ta dungi chemboro wa tene da nga so di meta wa ha ko yuna tenta gi duala kana yes oda tene indi pendo chembore tene nga so kan ma ka ji gumgis
So, So when there's a real benefit that we all probably also, especially those of us who've now been, meditating regularly on impermanence and reflecting, you probably really feel the benefit that this has on your life. And if we, in general, the more familiar we become with the truth of impermanence, the more we meditate on impermanence, it really is preparing us for death. Just like, for instance, if we know that there's a guest that's coming, and we know to be expecting a guest, if they're not an unexpected guest, we know they're coming. And then, so we like have it in the back of our mind, this guest is arriving, and we're like doing what we need to prepare. And then when the guest comes, it's like the guest has arrived and we're really happy to see the guest and we invite them in, and it's, something that we happily accept. But, and so it really can be the same way with death. That the more kind of prepared we are and we're expecting, so therefore it is like when the time comes, it's like the guest has finally arrived that you were expecting all along. And there's understanding, there like beforehand. So whereas, if an unexpected guest comes, it's maybe much more difficult to kind of be happy about it. But when we are prepared and we know it's coming, and then they come and we sort of really know, that we've been preparing, and so therefore, instead of, really being thrown off guard or upset about it, it's like we're like, okay, I'm ready. This is what I knew was going to happen, and I have been expecting this, and now here it is. Whereas those who aren't practitioners, who really avoid the truth of impermanence and death, they don't want to hear about it, they don't want to think about it, it's very scary. When death comes, it can be, a real obstacle because there's the inability to accept, and so there's real suffering there, and there's still hope to recover. There's still maybe the denial or the hope, like not to die, even though death is definitely, there at one's doorstep. And so then the whole process becomes one that's really painful. It's what we refer to as the suffering of suffering, the very coarse level suffering. So when we're not expecting death, there's much greater suffering. When we are expecting death, when we've really contemplated and thought about death, then it can really bring a lot of ease to the process. It brings great benefit to the dying process to be well prepared. So thinking about contemplating death and impermanence, and again, we can meditate for a few minutes.
Okay, so we 10 minutes. 다 디지라 ngata lende siyatri ta lende siyat da ta meta siyat so tine ta ngaso chuche nyamne cheya ke karse go nyamne cheya tere ta nyamlen ke ta tsawa sena tere tine tine peke chemores.
So the next of the four thoughts is karma, or cause and effect. And so dinimita saya nyamlen.
Wata nyamlen saya jido nyamlen chia ke chupchan ro te theres. Lejumde ta meta.
So the two that are really like the root of practice are karma, cause and effect, and impermanence.
Ta lende saya di ta nga zo ha ko gore ke che hyo di le khar chi yo na ro gewe ki le chi yo na tini di ke ndrevete dewan jungu yo wa o ta di ha ko gore.
So we have to really understand, it's so important, the most important thing really is an understanding of cause and effect, knowing that whatever actions bring about the corresponding results, being really convinced about this. So really knowing that whatever virtue, that from virtue there comes a favorable result, and from non-virtue there comes unfavorable results.
Tenditine ta tesungdoa maji bala minjong songre aso gewan roji do mi vina tene dewe dewa te yong marwa kesi nga di dewe ji yong sho ro samna yong maris.
And it's really important to know that whatever is not done, we can't, when something is not done, we can't expect the result from that thing. So meaning, if we are always hoping for happiness, but we don't accumulate the merit, if we don't, create the causes, the wholesome causes of well-being and happiness or good fortune or realization, then we can't expect those things to come about.
Tena yitine chiba ju meza songre tene ta nga zo gebe kele ji drop sha yubi na tela choran rewa yuna de rewa mena de kon jungre songre karsina nga zo gewa drop yo ro gebe ki ju jungre stu sa yo mare men do ya yo mare la do ya yo mare.
And the same goes for things that are done. Whatever it is that is done, then there's no way but for the fruition to occur. And so whether we wish for it or we don't wish for it, if the causes are there, it will happen.
오다 대화 나기다 단단 가서 노초 발라 다야 하 코마송 이나야 혀초 다 Tibetan society Tibetan 이나데 다지 Asian 다 남베 게 제카도라야 코텔라 카르세 고레 misunderstanding 지 용구요레스.
Misunderstanding Gapar Asia or Nupcho? Asia la. So he doesn't know about the West, but in Asia, among Buddhists, there's kind of a misunderstanding that can easily happen.
가리오레 라비나다 오 베나다 자와드소 임비나 심제제 요 말에 꼬마자야 요 말에 라구요레 데다 메차드소 이나 오다 심제제나 종매완다오 꼬마잠나 종매완다오 트리키야 고 concept senarita jiktawaji yores that norbaris.
So there's this view like virtue is for the monks, you know? Like virtue is for the monastics. They don't kill sentient beings. They don't
Tene
steal.
marwa, tene marwa.
Gande.
Di ishiamado karzan gorsana chawatsu simnyasina digimares. Konso
Oh, okay.
chawares.
So there's
Chawe
more.
koma jamnan digimares. Konso chaware labgorwa. Ina mechato keyo marengato simnyasina digire. Yeah,
It's the same. But he said, you know, there's this idea like monks aren't supposed to kill, monks aren't supposed to steal. But for lay people, like there's not the same expectation. There's like, it doesn't matter. They're lay people. But the monks and nuns, they're not supposed to do those things.
Ten digmares.
But that's not okay. That's
조원지 계속 송도와 제당상 이 카나마도 제 송도 메차제 게 심제지나 디바요레 타와제 게 심제지나 디바요레스.
But Lord Jigten Sungwon is very clear about this, that there really is no difference, that, you know, virtue is non-virtue, and it is the same non-virtue, and it is the same weight of non-virtue for monastics and for lay people.
이는야 대가나이다 가장 가서 데려 담자 예당 가서 담자 샤네 베나 잠로 돈번도 휴네 되는가 심제세면도 다테 말이 심제세면 말한데도 고마지하기면도 지랍야 고마지합 요나 다 텔라 카르세나 코 무치에 고마지합 지파차리스 잠로 돈번 휴네 고마지합 요나야 텔레도 팬도 뜻이 요레스 카르세나 ngazo dikpa thakchi ti terdo joba mina yakpe ke tha thug mare songdo dikpa yana ina ti ndu ko chi ngazo
Shakpa dogma too.
on joba mina ya ba yina thag mare da dikpa ya bin da dorje samon ro tong thli cha thag mare songde ti ndu ko karsena nga koma jag men ro sam chik jam ro domba hyu ne tene 디젤 코마로 효르비나고 코마로 잡이나야 그 힘바탄 dag 말에 가서 오 당에 코마 저기면서 담자 지요레타 든 마서 삼반로지 요레스 디게 고 디바 타비요레스 이나 뭐 힘바로 좀 너무 힘이나 또 not big deal 고 텐디디 코마 잠나 카리요스가 텐디 점로 domban 힘이요 말에 강요 말 삼그러와 텐디 텐디 디바들 가서 조바 강요 말와 조바 메디 야토 뭐 텐디 가서 대송도와 대송을 되네. 대가 당이 책제 요래요. 요런 거지.
So tes고. So it is the same, but what the commitment does, and this is where the difference kind of comes into play, is that precisely in what kind of the attitude of the lay people then reflects, which is that the commitment causes one to take it more seriously. So, for instance, and we have, as lay people, also have the vows that we take. For instance, when we take the vows of refuge, vows not to kill, not to steal, and so forth. So, the benefit of taking the vows is that so the non-virtue is the same, but there's greater regret if the vow is there. Generally speaking, it is held as there's more cautious around the non-virtue. So it is said that what really causes the power of purification when we engage in the practice of like confession and purification, such as Vajrasattva, if we really feel remorse for the negativity, that's what really gives the power to the purification. So for instance, if, you know, we, like maybe perhaps in the case of like a monastic or someone who's taken the vows, then when they break the vow, there's a feeling like, oh, that was really a mistake. That was really not something I should have done. And so then there is the impetus to purify it, to renew it, and then it is purified through the power of that confession, through the power of that remorse. Whereas if someone does the same negative deed and doesn't have any remorse or thinks, oh, it's not a big deal, I'm a layperson, then, it ends up being a heavier, one isn't able to purify it without remorse. So even it is said, even if you do the purification, the practice of purification, but there's no remorse there, that it doesn't really have the power of purification.
어다 뒤에는 되네 저기 정도와 되네 제당랑이 카나마토지
La.
제당랑이 제바이나 제바세나 되리 번 타와치네 제바라와 마치메스 때 랑이 카나마토 다 미차로 어디냐 보디 지바래 제당랑이 카나마토지 디동 타티미 이제 제바이 정도와 다 제기면은 딕발라 그래 제기면은 동알라 그래 이나 제바 제향래 손데
So this gets a little bit into semantics in Tibetan, but there is a line from Jigden Sumgun in the Gongchik that says that transgressions and natural non-virtues are the same non-virtue. The same karmic weight, same non-virtue. So there are these terms in Tibetan, chepa, which is like a kind of like a transgression, which it indicates, like if someone has taken vows, and then natural non-virtues, which is, the same things are considered to be natural non-virtues. It's just that the vows aren't there. So that's the difference, but actually the karma of the deed is no different. Yeah, so so whether it's a non-virtue or a downfall, but the act is the same, it's the same.
어다 뒤인도 당가서디 렌데틀라 드네 지 가서 로찔라지 송도와 가서 로찔지 버레 렌데트 송고 그래 타와 아니게 송고야 메체게 송마고야 메체 송고야 타와 아니 송마고야 강요 말에 된다 뭐서도 수임비나요 드네 지 타와 탐진제메 고모세나레 지다 갈색고래 와다 되니 터버치와라 되네 수이나 터보고요래 이나 되네 수이나 송고고요래 너와 찔찔이요래스.
So according to karma cause and effect, really all beings are bound by those natural laws. So in order to, it's the same causes that lead to liberation and awakening, whether one is a lay practitioner or one is a monastic. And so to keep the vows, or to, also whether you're a monastic or a lay person, they have the same result.
다 텔라 랑지데 송로 테마토베칸 레세야디 카르마세야지 레세야지다 칼세거든가서 어머심바지에기양 저널에 두보지 치샤도 디게드네 저런 파니시멘트 체바제야로 텐데 용구여서 말레스 텐데 코텔라우도와 랑지 게드네 제템 랑지 게데조데 마토베게 무제기 템소 혀ጆ로 오지다 무제기 체바쪽 말와 어텐데네 데 랑지긴 종구요사레스 랑지데 간린 종구요레스 휴비나 뺀나 신우 해당제 발라도 직 칸다 칸사 직라 직 노베이나 그러와
Nuba?
노바노지 가리나 스미디로 노베이나 딘데우디 타코 랑기 랑야 노고요레스 칸사 직라 펜비나 디겐 데우디 nga rangi nga gomi ko kesha yang mare nga phengi yores 티 인디다 티 나는 가서 장조 쌤도 개침벌이 세야기 점생에 참바다님이 개침벌이 세야 점생 같은 참바다님이 공부 점생들 때는 현질기 팽거렸어. 개시 단다 참바님이 공비는 가서 공바테 코라가 힘바지 치디 인삼바지 가나 공부여 봐. 티 인디베데 때는 랑 대화 용거렸어. 어디다 랑이리스.
So karma is just nature, and it isn't something that is commonly misunderstood as like a punishment or something, that, you know, that there's some other like being or force that's saying, oh, if you do good, you'll get rewarded, or if you do bad, then you have to suffer for it, you'll be punished for it. It isn't like that. It is simply the natural law. It is how nature or reality functions. And so if there's no outside, you know, no one created it, there's no kind of overseer of karma that doles out, you know, who gets what. It's just again, it's the natural law. So, for example, if somebody harms someone, then the result of that harm is harm. Harm brings harm. It brings harm to the object that you harm, and it brings harm to yourself. And likewise, if you benefit someone, then the result that comes is that of benefit. You bring benefit to the other, and benefit comes to yourself. And that's why there's so much emphasis in this path on developing the qualities of love and compassion, bodhicitta, the mind that wishes to benefit others. Because if we cultivate those mind states, and then we work to benefit others, the result of that benefit is all around benefit. We benefit others, and naturally benefit comes to ourselves. And that is just, even though the object is other, you know, our mind is focused, we're not focused on ourselves, our mind is focused on other, but what happens is that the benefit comes primarily to ourselves, because that's how karma works.
어다티 karma데 첨보요래 다 충산로 섬노 땅비나 대송거래 가서더니 보라 대용구도와 활치람시 세야죠. 활치람시.
데 모남.
말이 맹로
치탕.
활치.
Barje lamsa gi monam.
몰라 말이 활치 맹지 거라와.
Ale. So barje lamsa chitang.
어디 돈다 베트카리.
So in Tibet, there is what is referred to.
활치 스카샤 활치.
There are obstacles.
되네 람시 거래 손데.
And we have to clear the path of obstacles.
Right. Not obstacles, but obstacle. No.
Clear.
No, clear the path, not obstacle.
Clear the path.
다 카테고리스나 무직라 파치 요나스. 로. 파치 티키 시야라 카테고리스 람나. 다 람가토 짱마소 그래.
Oh, literally, yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly.
So, if we want to clear away obstacles, the cause for that, one of the ways to create the cause for clearing away obstacles is to literally clean the path, to like clear out the road.
디디 가서티 칼세나 화치 칼세나 가서 파트지 요래다. Maybe path to liberation 나래 파트지 요래봐. 이내 가서 파티가 로디 다 파치지 요래고 딱단 로야 메ጆ게. 당연히 요래와.
Because there is a path the path that, like, say, if we say the path that leads to liberation, it's like a path. And so the kind of reflection, the karmic or relative reflection of that, you know, there's the symbolic meaning of like roads and paths. And so if we clear the paths of obstacles for other people, like literally debris and so forth, then we're creating the sort of circumstance, or what they say in, for the clearing of the path in a metaphorical sense.
다 뒤에 다가 람가시야들이 인당가서 단다디 부이나 다 람가서 갈래가 보여래 람가라 도요로 봐. 도지 도 동봉지 요나. 근데 디 람가 디간라 야안로 그리란로 그래 롱로 그래 먼로 그러와. 다 도티 기페 obstacle 요래 가든도나 고티간라 로타메 완로지 도 쳔버지 요나. 다디 도 쳔버도 무치나. 그러와. 다 길이 야안로나데 단로나데 롱로나데 노로나데 먼로나고 다그 대화 톱리 고 강바담게 말이 어다티 평소함 좀 해줘 요래 해서
So, for instance, in Tibet, everything, you know, there's quite a network of like footpaths, for instance. Most people travel by foot, and everybody travels those paths, like people and animals, and goats and sheep and yak and, you know, all sorts of animals. And so when there's an obstacle in the path, like if there's a big rock, for instance, it creates an impediment for everyone who comes down that path. So it is said to be, for instance, when you see that and then you clear the road of these impediments, such as rocks and so forth, then you're making it easier for all of these other beings to travel, other people, other animals, you know, sheep and goats and so forth, and they won't hit their legs on the rock. And it's said to be incredibly beneficial to do this. It's like particularly good karma.
어다 디가 나기다 가서 딘디 파티요 말이 디나야 가서 글레샤조 찌텔라 무시엔시게 코란가 강에 되나 근데 가서 대바요래 다디 가서 그 무시엔시게 지샤조데 가서게 직장만도 소비나 근데 가서 그때
And so we don't have as many paths that we can like easily clear here.
But still you have a lot of things to do.
But still we have a lot of things we can do. So like we can think about that if we make things more difficult for people, like if our actions, like kind of, he didn't say literally, but I think what he means kind of is like if you create a mess for someone else to clean up, that's a big non-virtue. Like if what we do kind of makes things more difficult for other people, then it's an accumulation of non-virtue. And if we're conscientious and looking after other people and thinking about how our actions impact other people, even in small ways, then this is a great virtue to like metaphorically clear the path for someone else.
Tinta bena chahavina the best Singapore roina tanga so jun bena jik category candy do jik da smoke do smoke in some ta kanga so pepper do nijela yo chokomaris.
Like in Singapore, they're very clean. You're not allowed to even like throw a single candy wrapper on the ground.
Yeah, tanga so this padana the legal do rule do government rule do this.
And so like on the one hand, if you look at it, it's like a rule imposed by the government. It's like a legal thing.
Yinaya ta samno yabotana pemsi yaborawa. Kisi chora candy shorty candy company ma yobina ma yona me himbe lega gugoya yamare tamaso goya yamarwa. That thing one a great benefit in the
But if you think about it, it's really great. Even, it's a rule that is imposed from the outside, but then it causes everyone to be really thoughtful and clean.
다 뒤찍책 말이. The less interesting here. Karma is very interesting. In karma the give later. Give later la increasing cheala. Tene remember yours.
There are so many ways, like I think what he wants to say is like so many creative ways to increase your merit.
Tiene ta gevelina ne chegla zone ta ngemanga to ta chirang sti ha ko tsari ta ngela gume tsatsa ji kimozom sangji ri se ya jora ba ite mare ta tel le la yore ina meje ke ta tsama so yore serwa tsama so nge kona of course ne kona ya boris 다 매직 코페 상마야 호소야 집어 빼 약보래 내가 약보자면 코양 개바지 같은 거랬어. 내가 나기 다 정말 소향지 강바디나 바트롬이나 거 유스 증인디 뭐 정말 때 집어 열어 봤음. 다들 개바 열었어. 그 개바 지키양 개바 뭐 zonra 열었어.
So, of course, you're all familiar with the story of the tsatsa, like the tsatsa becoming a cause for 3 different people to attain enlightenment based on the way they related to the tsatsa in a mind of virtue. But so, of course, there's that. But also, then if you think about like somebody who cleans, of course, the person who cleans creates merit, accumulates merit. But not only does that person accumulate merit, but the person who walks into the space and says, "Oh, wow, look at how clean it is. Look at what this person did." Yeah. Like mission budget. So that person thinks the person who cleaned here did such a good job and they rejoice. Then that person who rejoices in the good cleaning of the person who did the cleaning accumulates the same merit as the person who cleaned. And then the third person who gets to 공개와 여러배 네 상주 배주 제겐 드나양
코나 개와 요 말이네 개와 짱마 송열 개와 싸기로와
Oh, okay.
근데 다 코티 배주 지고리 가리요로 이노 코나 개와 요래 좁아 요로 봐 코나야 이 지서 짱만도
제수요랑
Okay, how much okay?
So,
Honey,
yeah.
You too. 근데 칼세나디 그 가와 탐지 개와 있어 뭐 가와 탐지 개와 있어 나도 지금 동하나 강바야지 오늘 상주 야보나 주 가시 가기도 와. 대 초랑데 개와라 와. 또와라 와. 개와지 사들이. 제가 나기 짱마 송이들라. 개와 토플로리스.
So, I was sort of like, really? This person also accumulates merit? And they do. So the person who goes into the bathroom and enjoys the clean bathroom is like, oh, this is such a nice bathroom. It's so clean. Then they also accumulate merit because they're like appreciating and they're enjoying. And actually there's merit, there's virtue in feeling a sense of appreciation and gratitude. So it like just creates merit and good, like benefit all around, virtue.
Well, that is, of course,
So then, of course, the person who accumulates the most merit is the one who cleans.
Well, that is, that make it what you want. Then there's somebody, Chora Dubocha gona, make it create Mambo Chigona, then that is Dubora, Yinaya, Chora Lamga gonna sofa tango.
Okay. Wait, Gare?
초랑 라베
Wait, 가래거나? 미게와 사거나?
미게와 사거나? 근데 뭐 처음에 고도 보래 가르에서 한산나 공로사 무소토나 공로사 나도 사기 그래 나도 디 공로 사기도 와 ngane sagido ta samsanga so lamga gan la TV yok hyagyo den yok hyagyo beer bottle
Oh,
yok
beer bottle, yeah.
어때 다 카르딘 수 욕도 육사 요라 봐네 카르딘
Yeah.
욕요래 삼바지다 코나 사기도 얘네 코나 사는다 고메게 와래요 나저 코나 사디 메게 사기요래 코나소디 징년다 쪼지요 징년 들어와 징년 들어다 되고 배 라보토버 사기요
So the same goes for non-virtue. Like if, even with the same example, like the opposite of cleaning, making a mess. So they say that if you really want to accumulate non-virtue, this is kind of crass, but you should take a dump in the middle of the path or like take a dump in the middle of the road. Because if, what happens, then everybody sees it and they get mad, right? So, and he said, and it's really that way. He himself has the experience, like there's some areas, like if you drive by and it's like there are beer bottles and some people throw like TVs and mattresses and like all their junk is just thrown on the side of the road. And he's like, why? They have a place they can throw that out. Why would you just needlessly, dirty the side of the road? And so look at what happens there. He gets angry, and that's his own accumulation of negativity. So the person who creates the mess, of course, has the biggest non-virtue, but they have double, triple non-virtue, but it has the same residual effect that the person, that someone else comes across this, they get mad, they think that person didn't clean or they made a mess, and then it creates non-virtue in their mind stream. And so it's the same kind of rippling effect, whether it's virtue or non-virtue.
어때 다디 ngazo디 다 야체사다 충사 송고래 되니다 되니다 더소라 되네 다 조카스나 템바당 희이게 제시 말와 제가 저 잘라지 향하거나 가와 향하고사래 삼바다다 조제요디 나좀 고려송조 라고래 고려송조도 백해 첨보르와 고려송조 징년디 고지 거버먼트 메제 기치고야제 게다 코나기 디시션도 말와 디니다디 카르시나고 ngaso samno yakbo taana kuriyo zonjo seya da jeta environment care chiadi ko individually ke ta responsibility yorwa ta tiga na yi individual ke responsibility yuwa na yi chiwi na tena chama yabo chagirwa te ma do temro sona so to bya yo mares ko yegil rule no yi sona yo mares tini ta ti yasho di individual responsibility di 키비는 되거래. 될 키와치와 in order to 되니 치와치와라 다 템바다 희이 고기요래. 때마다 안 가서 하고요 말와. 나절라지 리세카다 가와요 그래. 삼바도 요나 약보요래. 대가나 이 개념이나 당보 개념 뭐 효공을 거 간이 정말 소고사래 삼바지 이렇게 털 요나 레라 오러와.
So also, this comes down to practicing mindfulness and awareness in the spaces that we move through. And this also extends to the natural environment, really being conscious of the need to protect and look after the environment. This is, not just like a government decision, something that's like, the government sort of decides that we're all going to protect the environment. It's an individual responsibility, to look after and care for the environment, and we all have a responsibility. Of course, there are different laws and rules that can be put into place that can help assist that. For instance, like having the designated recycle bins is very helpful, and having the recycle company come and pick up the recycling is very helpful in our effort, to practice that kind of mindful awareness. But really it comes down to, all individuals sort of deciding to have, to really value mindfulness and awareness, and to be, to move conscientiously through the world.
tiga 이당 가서 대서 못 당거래 단다디 walking meditation 라고도 다디 안 거기서 또 스키는 walking meditation 혼바자 더지 섬구여로 혼바자당 혼바칼레 칼레자 다디 meditation도 레 focus 치고로 봐 yin nga zo ka mindfulness jangoda kambaya cha ma pa ti ni ta tindi chane ta ti walking meditation chi ko mare ta nga zo ti khadu yin bi na ya chi tene ta kharchi go sare we should do we should not do ro o ta khare geware khare megere o khare yabore khare dubore o ta tindi ki ko chi every moment tene he de wa ta la tene ta ngo ting nga walking meditation sana ya ta meditation chagi ores.
And for instance, there's walking meditation. So, you know, there's like we think, oh, we need to bring
Just walking, no,
awareness, like we're just, you know, doing some meditation thing while we're walking. And we're bringing mindfulness to the activity of walking. But it's not about really
Of course, yes, but
just bringing mindfulness to the activity of walking. Of course, yes, because that's one of the activities that we do in the world. But what is really meant to be built in walking meditation is mindful awareness that that also extends to every moment of our lives, all of our actions. There should be that kind of awareness and mindfulness so that we're aware of what we're doing when we do it, and we're able to say, oh yes, this is something I should do, or oh no, this is something I should refrain from doing, so that there's that kind of conscientiousness and care and attention and mindfulness that's brought to every action, every moment of our lives.
어다디 렌데 테레 다 가서 두 수모 본도 송 테레. Okay, so that we the that lende tela ngaso kan machu komja ins.
Okay, so now he said we ended up elaborating a lot on that, but we will now meditate for 10 minutes on cause and effect.
처음에 말보다 처음에 탱탱하게 말 버터는 도제
So these are actual butter, real
어이 어디 버린
tea lights.
처음 먹으면도 뭐도 안다 우리나 저런데 저런데 라 다 되게 저런데 라 도저히 빠르고
Okay,
thiên nga zo mon lam ji dong gi thiên da zo da mo bu je kha ko gu yo re thiên da sendi mo ran chong bres.
So now, as you all know, so for Cindy, who has just passed away, we can recite the King of Aspiration prayers.
thiên da mo ran da ji da ngi tang gi nga zo kong hu ba na yi re de gong ga ju ke peche cho zo tang bo de da peche Maryland TMZ 차요리 되니 디휴클라 페제 초조 당보디 템파 인지레
Washington
킬로워터 인지레스 보다 텐디 지지 되네 지다 뭐라야 냠네치 라마 mambo지 포클라마 누군가지 킬라마다 되니 포클라마 텐디 텐데 휴다 대가나 이 TMC라 다 네마 베나 every what's a spring teaching do that in the young teaching this so no more sayores the in that thing teach to go sound you more of the noise.
So Cindy Churchward was really a very important person in helping to establish the Drikung Kagyu here in the West. So as Drabana Mishe mentioned earlier, there was the very first Drikung Kagyu Dharma Center in Washington, D.C., which then later became Maryland, the Maryland Tibetan Meditation Center in Maryland, and then probably the second Drikung Kagyu Dharma Center was then the one that was established here in Clearwater by Cindy. And she invited many lamas and hosted many lamas and really helped many of the lamas of our lineage, and also would come every year to the spring teachings at TMC and accumulated a lot of merit. And so with Cindy in mind, we can all recite the King of Aspiration prayers together. So we can recite in English, following. Is everyone able to follow the screen? Maybe I would like to ask Lisa, can you make maybe the screen a little bigger, like zoom in a little bit so that it's almost like paragraph by paragraph, just to make the words a little bigger for us over here who are relying on the screen share as well? Perfect. Yeah. I'm sorry. Oh, and then maybe you can shrink the what?
Maybe it's on our side, right? In the upper right corner, once you start scrolling, the wide one.
Oh, it'll run into the
Lisa can't control that. Someone has to modify it locally.
oh, it's on. Oh yeah, actually, could you hand me his computer? I pay homage to the noble Manjushri, to those in the worlds of the 10 directions, however many there are, all the lines among humans who appear during the 3 times. To all of them, without exception, I pay homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The force of my aspiration prayer for excellent conduct brings all the victorious ones directly to mind. Bowing down with bodies as numerous as atoms in the realms, I prostrate to all the victorious ones. In a single atom, there are Buddhas as numerous as atoms, each residing in the midst of their sons and daughters. Like that, I imagine the whole Dharmadhatu completely filled with victorious ones. To those with oceans of inexhaustible, praiseworthy qualities, with sounds containing oceans of tones of melodic speech, I express the qualities of all the victorious ones. I praise all the Sugatas. With the finest flowers, the finest garlands, music, ointments, supreme parasols, supreme lamps, and the finest incense, I make offerings to the victorious ones. With the finest cloths, supreme scents, and fine powders equal to Mount Meru, all displayed in supreme and magnificent ways, I make offerings to those victorious ones. With vast and unsurpassable offerings, I venerate all the victorious ones. Through the power of faith and excellent conduct, I prostrate and offer to the victorious ones. Whatever negative actions I have performed with body, speech, and also mind, overpowered by desire, aggression, and stupidity, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in everyone's merit, the victorious ones of the 10 directions, the bodhisattvas, the pratyeka Buddhas, those in training, those beyond training, and all beings. I request the protectors, the lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who, passing through the stages of awakening, attain Buddhahood beyond attachment, to turn the unsurpassable Dharma wheel. I supplicate with my palms joined together those who intend to demonstrate nirvana, to remain for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, for the welfare and happiness of all beings. I dedicate whatever slight virtue is accumulated through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and supplicating to enlightenment. I make offerings to all the past Buddhas and those residing in the worlds of the 10 directions. May those who have not appeared quickly fulfill their intentions and, passing through the stages of awakening, appear as Buddhas. May the realms of the 10 directions, however many, be completely pure and vast. May they be filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas who have gone to sit before the powerful Bodhi tree. May all beings throughout the 10 directions, however many there may be, always have happiness, be free from illness. May all beings be in harmony with the aims of the Dharma and achieve what they hope for. May I perform the conduct of awakening and remember my lives during all states. In all my successive lives from birth to death, may I always be a renunciate. Following the victorious ones, may I train, bringing excellent conduct to perfection, and engage in pure, stainless moral conduct, which never lapses and is free from faults. In the languages of gods and languages of Kumbandas and humans, and however many languages of beings there may be, may I teach the Dharma. With gentleness may I exert myself in the paramitas. May I never forget bodhicitta. May all wrongdoing and whatever obscures be thoroughly purified. May I be liberated from karma, kleshas, and the work of maras, and act for all beings in the world like a lotus to which water does not cling, like the sun and moon unhindered in space. Throughout the directions and reaches of the realms, may the suffering of the lower states be pacified. May all beings be placed in happiness. May all beings be benefited. May I bring awakened conduct to perfection, engage in conduct that harmonizes with beings, teach excellent conduct, and perform these throughout all future kalpas. May I continuously be with those who wish or with my own. May our conduct and aspirations of body, speech, and mind be the same. May I always meet with friends who wish to benefit me, and those who teach excellent conduct, and may I never displease them. May I always directly see the victorious ones, the protectors surrounded by bodhisattvas. In future kalpas, without tiring, may I make vast offerings to them. May I retain the genuine Dharma of the victorious ones and cause the appearance of awakened conduct. Training in excellent conduct, may I act in this way throughout all future kalpas. When circling in all my existences, may I develop inexhaustible merit and wisdom and become an inexhaustible treasury of methods, samadhi, virgins, and virtues. In a single atom, there are realms as numerous as all atoms. In those realms reside infinite Buddhas in the midst of bodhisattvas. Beholding them, may I perform awakened conduct. Like that, in all directions, on the breadth of just a hair, there are oceans of Buddhas, as many as in the 3 times, and oceans of realms. May I act and be engaged with them for oceans of kalpas. In a single instance of a Buddha's speech is a voice endowed with oceans of qualities. It has the pure qualities of the melodic speech of the victorious ones, and is the melodic speech that accords with the inclinations of all beings. May I always be engaged with the Buddha's speech. May I be engaged through the power of my mind in the inexhaustible melodic speech of the victorious ones appearing in the 3 times, who turn the Dharma like a wheel. As all future kalpas are penetrated, may I also penetrate them instantly. May I be engaged in and penetrate in each part of an instant, as many kalpas as are in the 3 times. May I see instantly those lines among humans appearing in the 3 times. May I always be engaged in their sphere of experience through the power of illusion-like liberation. May I produce in a single atom all the arrays of realms there are in the 3 times. May I be engaged with the arrays of the Buddha realms in all directions always. Those lamps of the worlds who have not yet appeared will gradually awaken, turn the Dharma wheel, and demonstrate nirvana, the final peace. May I go into the presence of those protectors. through the power of swift miracles, the power of the yana, the door, the power of conduct endowed with excellent qualities, the power of all-pervasive love, the power of virtuous merit, the power of wisdom free from attachments, the powers of knowledge, methods, and samadhi, may I perfectly accomplish the power of awakening. May I purify the power of karma, conquer the power of kleshas, render the power of maras powerless, and perfect the power of excellent conduct. May I purify oceans of realms, liberate oceans of beings, behold oceans of dharma, realize oceans of wisdom, purify oceans of conduct, perfect oceans of aspiration prayers, offer to oceans of Buddhas, and act without weariness throughout oceans of kalpas. All the victorious ones who appear in the 3 times awaken into enlightenment through the excellent conduct of various aspiration prayers for awakened conduct. May I perfect all of these. The eldest son of the victorious ones is called Samantabhadra by name. I dedicate all this virtue that I may act with skill similar to his. May I also be equal to him in his skill and excellent dedications for pure body, speech, and mind, pure conduct, and pure realms. May I act according to the aspirations of Manjushri in order to perform excellent virtuous actions, not tiring throughout future kalpas. May I perfect these activities. May my conduct be without measure. May my qualities also be measureless. Remaining within conduct without measure, may I send out emanations. Sentient beings extend as far as the limits of space. May my aspiration prayers extend as far as the limits of their karma and kleshas. Though someone adorns with precious jewels the infinite realms of the 10 directions and offers these to the Buddhas, or offers the supreme happiness of gods and men, for kalpas as numerous as atoms in the realms, the genuine merit of someone who hears this king of dedications, who is inspired towards supreme awakening and gives rise to faith in it, is more supreme. Whoever makes this aspiration prayer for excellent conduct will be free from the lower realms and free from negative friends. They will soon acquire all benefits and be sustained in happiness. With all of this, their life will go well. Before long, they will become just like Samantabhadra. Whatever has been done through the power of not knowing, all evil, even the 5 acts of immediate consequence, will be quickly purified by those who recite this excellent conduct. They will possess wisdom, beauty, and the signs, be of good family with fine complexion. They will not be overpowered by maras or tirthakas. The 3 worlds will make offerings to them. They will soon go before the Bodhi tree, and having gone there, they will sit to benefit beings, awaken into enlightenment, turn the Dharma wheel, and subdue all maras and their hordes. The full ripening for those who are involved with, teach, or recite this aspiration prayer for excellent conduct is known only by the Buddhas. Without any doubt, it is supreme enlightenment. I dedicate all this virtue, following and emulating the warrior Manjushri, who is omniscient, as is Samantabhadra, with dedications praised as supreme by the victorious ones who appear in the 3 times. I dedicate all my roots of virtue towards excellent conduct. When the time of death comes for me, may all my obscurations vanish. Seeing Amitabha directly, may I go to his realm of Sukhavati. Having gone there, may I actualize all these aspiration prayers, fulfill them completely, and benefit beings as long as worlds exist. May I be born within a beautiful lotus in that excellent and joyous realm of the victorious one. And from the victorious one, Amitabha, directly may I receive a prophecy. Having received his prophecy there, may I benefit all beings in the 10 directions through the power of my mind with many billions of emanations. Through whatever virtue I have accumulated by making this aspiration prayer for excellent conduct, may the virtue of the aspiration prayers for all beings be accomplished instantly. By the infinite and genuine merit attained by dedicating the aspiration prayer for excellent conduct, may all the beings drowning in the rivers of suffering reach the place of Amitabha. May this king of aspiration prayers bring about the supreme aim and benefit for all infinite beings. Completing this scripture adorned by Samantabhadra, may the lower realms be empty. No, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so we have 10 minutes. So you have some questions or comments.
Hello, Jupan. May I ask a question?
Yes, please.
And hello, Assembly.
Hello.
I was thinking today during your teaching that as long as I've known you, I don't remember you teaching us walking meditation. I was wondering if during this retreat you would create a practice for us to learn your instructions.
Walking meditation Tini chichina tata de gunge kachu katla yang walking meditation chetang yang nang na digre.
Re, ta chetan di ta changma nga so tanda tikchen tingmen ri changma walking meditation di I'm not sure exactly. Are da nyaman ro ina tin yo sarwa ina ya ta tanda sarwa ina da nyimba ina da tingchang the walking meditation di ko popular ro ji cha de dos.
So, as you know, walking meditation is something that's mostly practiced like in the Theravada tradition. So he doesn't feel that familiar with it. He doesn't know exactly. Oh, got it.
Da nyama tin chu yo na me na ha ko mes. Ko ngeme ngar ngeme lukso ro mi ha ko mes.
Kande ngoma lukso.
Oda sa nyama ni tin yo wa tin ina tanda tin che ya ina ha ko mes.
Ngoma che tang.
Oh.
Yang data che tang.
ngoma chigi yo mi ha ko mes. Ina
chigi yo ro sanje lao yo ro.
Oh chigi yo sa ri si na ro. Tingi ta lap go zon so ta tin du da pena sanje ke ke ta themba de la khomban ding jo ki chu do la de ne sanje yeng ma ri sung do wa o da tin du ne ta da tin popular chat yo sa res.
So, he's not sure like how much it was, like the Buddha spoke about it. And, it is, he doesn't know, how much it has been practiced or how it's been practiced maybe in the past, but these days it's become very popular.
Ina ya ta sanje ki song yo wa sanje ki themba de la ko manya wa kamba ma salato tini ya cha tindi je la tini tiar ka la themba 뭐냐면 네 거래 송들이 다 walking meditation 디 고탄당가 저다 샤마다 나온다 지나고 object meditation으로 자기 요사레스.
So, and in the Buddha, the way the Buddha explains it is, as a way to not lose mindful awareness, so that we're really conscious, aware, for instance, with all of the subtle details that are experienced as we're walking, like when the foot touches the ground, and then we lift the ground, and then the foot touches the ground again, to be fully present with all of those subtle movements. And so it really becomes like a form of shamatha, just like we do practice when we're using an object. And the object in this case becomes the motion of walking.
다 지도 가서 다 디테일 요사리 이나야 다 돈다야 당이 컨티뉴나 이게 not losing 카르세고레 베 모멘트라 맞아 디 템베키지 심바티 탑 배워진 사리스.
And so there are probably a lot of details that could be explained about how to, do walking meditation, traditionally speaking. But what he knows, the essence or the meaning of it is to really not lose mindful awareness for even a moment. To build the strength of our attention and mindful awareness with what we're doing as we do it.
다 참는 것도 추치야 될라고 갈세나 지 대바 마지와 당 추치야 너바 마 매바든지 말이 되나요? 그 템베킹 것도 지시마도 없는데 성이 몸은 로기어와
공다야 보고마서
당 가서 제당 추치야 그 너바 매바 말레스 박티치야 하고서 이나야 다 고치고 잠게라 템베키지 마지네 되네 딜레차 안도거와 지도부가 말했어.
대추 가래이나양 라게베. So, but really we should bring the same mindful attention to all of our Dhamma activities because, often what happens is we have like the desire to practice and maybe even like the diligence to do the practice and to do the practice continuously. But sometimes we lose the real attention to what we're doing as we do it. And so it's really important to bring that kind of real presence and attention to all of the Dharma practice that we do. So with walking meditation, he thinks that it's primarily a method to increase the habit of awareness, of attention or mindful awareness.
Thank you, Drupan.
You're welcome, James.
Daniel Payne asks, does it matter if the person who cleans the bathroom does that as their job for a salary, or is all that matters the intention? For example, taking pride in doing this job so people can enjoy a clean bathroom.
And I just saw Daniel come on the screen. Is there anything you would like to add to that or say? Okay. Hakoson. Oh.
No thanks. Thank you, Lincoln. That was it pretty much.
So, dinidi sangchu sandra chekin dini chapar yorebe pena kongso gi lega yena dang lacha togiona yangna dina yang pena kongso dina yara chene de sangchu sandra chego mishimba yang dina de yang de kipo chego samba ge kare de laksam yara chikbo yona chapar yorebe Penalacha top nama top. Kichabar.
Okay, lacha top ya chi de stick. Mijigan de lo yorebe.
So can
That
you, can you
you-
just read the question one more time in English? Yeah.
I think the question is if you get
You get
paid,
paid
but you
or
do a
not.
good job, is
Uh-huh.
that,
Tini ta okay maybe I
to
understand.
benefit others?
Ta di ko di nga so di double pay to be tabi chi gres. Double pay.
Oh, are you,
Like the
Not argue,
intention,
Mari.
is it just
It's-
about the intention? Does the money matter?
Tani ha ko song lai.
Okay. Yeah.
Ta te tabi kar chi go ri lam na. Nga so double pay to be tabi chi gres.
Double pay mare.
Ta to be tabi chi gres.
Te mare penamichi ki lega yona
Yeah.
sandra zogi oroa.
Ri
Kongso lacha togi oroa.
ore
Dini di meche rewa. Mi shima che lega mare lacha togi mare. Kongso de sandra de laksam yara cheni chegi oroa. Dini yene yang garsi tena de lacha token de garsi be yapo chegi ona yang kongso lacha toki yobe gi jumsen la deni yapo chena yene yang pesha gi dunda dawo tso yena chepar yorebe. Leila pore.
ta leka linge te la leka linge ina roas. Leka linge pe ha to hyona. Ta tabi chi gres pe ha be yagbo no ga namba sanji be ki nyamle ina pe ha ni do benefit ni do. Pe ha yang yo wa ge ba yang yo wa. Cha yo re spend cha ha wi na ta ko ri ko di pe ha to ya ki chi de le go yo wa. Ti na ne sincere be zang ma do so ta de la ko ji. Be sincerely so na. Tine ko kasina pe ha yang to gre ge ba yang to gres.
Yene yang de pena meche de
Tati ki
lacha ma token kongso gewa chea to grebe.
Ta tangpo te la.
Okay. All right. So first, so if somebody is cleaning the bathrooms because it's their job, then they get double the benefit because they're getting paid for it. They get the money for it. And they're also accumulating virtue, especially if they have a good attitude about it. So if their motivation is sincere, if it is not just to get the money, but if it's like, I really want to do the best job that I can and make this bathroom as nice and clean for all the people who want to use it, who are going to use it, and then can enjoy it, then they really get a bountiful accumulation of merit in the process. So it's like double the benefit.
Tene tega na ita ji tanda kontiwa na yeri yang pe ha mati ne ta leka khari na tsama so na tene ko pe ha yang chi tu mai de tene pe mes ge wa chimbo res.
And especially the person who doesn't get paid, if they're just doing it out of the goodness of their heart and because they want to, clean to, make things pleasant for others, they especially accumulate merit. The merit is even greater.
Question.
Thank you.
So, like, to kind of piggyback on that, but on the opposite. So, if you intentionally make a mess, knowing that someone else is going to have to clean up that mess, and not be mindful, or maybe you're just absent-minded and don't realize that, you're making a mess, or you're using the coffee cups and you're just putting them in the sink, you're not washing up after yourself or cleaning up after yourself. That's when you start accumulating lots of the non-virtue.
Right.
So if we just take a little time and
Clean
clean
up
up after ourselves, we're gonna accumulate good virtue,
Bingo.
especially here.
Yes, really is that, so, but, so this, mainly is that this, I said, really important is the mindfulness, So some people are not aware, so just what habit, just.
It's a habit.
Not intentionally, right?
It's not intentional.
But make the mess, right?
But there is negative, yes. So that's why I think everybody is very important in mindfulness. Helen?
Hi. So if you have high standards, say, for yourself and your own behavior, how can we maintain forgiveness for others, like using a cleaning example? I clean really well and you came in and made it messy. I mean, it's natural human tendency to be judgmental a little bit, or prideful. How can we sort of maintain a better attitude than that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Guidance and penangato garci sanda zona. Dini ngato di yara laksam chini sanda zo yorwa. Dini michi lep. Dini tsokpa zona. Dini samsam la control angrewa. Yang na ngaja langre. Oh, kungso kare chini denda yang midday dukjare yang tes judgmental chagrewa. Dini nini chini ngato yang denda ma cha ma chena yabo yojumarawa. Sanda zoken yang. Dini denda ma chayagi tapsi gare yore.
Ta karsena therawa lela umaris. This is not easy actually, because human attitude, Yina yang ta chi lela uyo maris ta peje tini no situation de peje ta kasakal yores rawa.
This happens all the time, and it's not easy.
Yina yang ta nga zo chuchu okto de gewe ngol samno tambi na ya ji tanda kuong tuwa na yere ji soba gomsan rawo jek dang tiga na ye rang le yang popa je ya o ta nye khaan chi samba ji nye ngu ne ta ji norwan rawo me samba rawo jek tene tindi jek yung sigiris rawa.
But as Dharma practitioners, we do what we can to practice patience in a situation like that, and we can also feel confident, like we did a good job. We did from our side, it's sort of like it's not our fault. We just tried to clean, and then someone came and made it messy. We did good,
Tati karsena nga tsu chi xawati no matter wa nga tsu jurwa yo maris wa.
And our
ko nga tsu gewa karsa xawati parjo ko dugu chinare dugu majinare ti nga tsu sa xawati la ko jurwa yo maris. Tati nga tsu te confident jurwa me zambik lo chi go gres.
And the virtue that we accumulated doesn't change. So if we spent time cleaning with a really good intention, and then whether someone messes up our job or doesn't mess it up, the virtue that we've accumulated remains. So we can take pleasure in the virtue rather than feeling kind of attached to the result of our efforts.
So this is actually a create merit. So we're thinking, sometimes we use it, right? The mandala, mandala, put build up, take it down, build up, take it down, build up, take it down. So that's a kind of similar. So it really, truly, if we are practitioner side, maybe we can clean up, somebody mess up, we clean up, somebody mess up, we clean up, somebody mess up. So why in this kind of
we're building mandalas.
Like a really great opportunity, So sometimes this is very difficult because we are worldly.
But from the worldly perspective, it is really difficult. But if we think about it from the perspective of Dharma, we're just getting more and more opportunities.
Okay.
I think I saw one in the chat about why do we read the King of Aspiration prayers when somebody dies?
I think that's a good question.
go ahead and, oh, okay, so,
The question's slightly different. Why does reciting this King of Aspiration prayer purify karma and accumulate merit and wisdom? When we recite, do we visualize the lines as much as we can based on one's own capacity?
do we visualize the lines?
Do you try to embody and visualize the prayer as you recite it, is I think what they're saying.
Okay. I'm sorry, I totally get it. Read it again.
Why does reciting this King of Aspiration prayer purify karma and accumulate merit and wisdom? When we recite, do we visualize the lines as much as we can based on one's own capacity?
So dini de
모람 동구요레스.
zamchugi monam dondu di yang de dikpa da garichne gande de dikpa da tang gewa sak tang gande yore garichini dikpa da yore garichini gewa sak yore dini ngacho yang dombe kala dini ngacho logi kala dini mikpa di gare logi yopa til mikpa cheya ke chumborebe dinda nangshin che gogrebe
레 당아서 데려와. 가르세나 당이 kontiyo 나예다. ngazo gewadang re ta ngazo namba sanji bala dene jewaji kheleng yore jewade kheleng ta ji sanji ya se ya ji dang sam maji se ya ke ta ko 산삼 저어디 가르세나 ngazo gewaza masarwa 티인데 다 기시직 배나 차샤비나 단다 통로 그냥 코라라 드네 개와 뭐뭐 요리 디네 야 상지야게 개와지 사토미나 ngazo 기티네 개와지 사비나
so wait pena tongkenyenna gare gewa sa yore
사 요리 디나 거기 상지야게 거갑지 개와지 사토미비나 드네 ngazo 기티네 동나 드네 골람가.
So actually, he answered the first version that Lincoln gave, which was why do we read it for someone who has died? So he said, well, because first of all, we have, as Buddhists, we believe in past and future lives. We know that there is great benefit in accumulating virtue that really has a lot of impact on where we go from here, in our next life. And sort of the borderline between virtue, or between like a liberation and enlightenment, or the lack of liberation and enlightenment, it really comes down to like virtue or a lack thereof. But at the moment of death, it's kind of a crucial time for there's a crucial potential opportunity there for liberation. And so it can be that the person who has died has accumulated a lot of virtue, but they kind of just need a little assistance in that moment where there's that potential for their virtue to kind of culminate in like its full ripening of liberation. And so we can help the person who has died in our accumulation of virtue, kind of meeting up with their accumulation of virtue when it's directed toward their benefit, when our intention is to help them, to benefit them.
근데 제가 나 이따 가서 몰람 요리 제땅 가서 들라 지 뭐지 총송바 뭐해봐 가서 렌 대화요바 make 통용 봐 배나 트레이닝도 있네 신디 차주 가서다 라마지 로마 가서 대화배 효천보레스 티는 팽게레스 티인디네 틴디제게 티네 다 몰람 간디지 오마니 배면도 펜도 요리 이네 양고 사파라 되게 되나디 다 몰람 기 저보 소네테 몰람 기 저보레 몰람 저보데 간디지 차브레스 라베나 티네 다다다 대화 가서 총본 노르장케 장초 심비 라발람네 까와 빠메 메바제네 타마야 되네 라마 자다 쭈 로피 자 쭈에서 야도 쭈 때네 타마들라 되네 다 딘디제게 심장게 동나 같이 닝루 딘디지네 되네 다 디게 누페도 대양다 제당 대화 요리 상지타당 가서 다 장저 선바로와 장저 선바 되네 사이에 되네 안자명 찬나도 제제에서 사이닝 보드바 넘버스 남게닝 보 참복근의 상세도 다 장저 선바도 참마 장저 선바니 세지 단 대화 요리 디 타마데다 딘디제게 송본으로 성복게 까와잡네 디게 까와잡게 누파 텔레덴테는 건 성복은 제외 다 테레인 초랑게 다 장저 선바지 있기 때문에 토탕 몰람 첸합 들어가나 있기 때문에 노르장게 때문에 다 까와지비 텔레덴에 되네 마음베게 다 니게 제 몰람디 성보주 몰람디 지카세 토바 양나 통왕 양나 이라 치바 딘디라 때문에 다 심체 그 녀송 쟁년지 인비나 녀송의 잼met은 로가 타바템 잼베 공마 투그리 손나다 갈세나고 장접 선바다 담기 송샤요 레스
So also the type of the more that someone has a connection with somebody, a karmic connection, or like knows them during their lifetime, then the more opportunity there is, because of the power of that personal connection, that karmic connection, the more opportunity there is to benefit them when they die through your prayers and aspirations and practice. And so we all share a deep connection with Cindy as, Dharma family, and especially Drvan Rinpoche says in his case, as a lama and student. And so there's a very strong connection there. And also the prayer in particular, the King of Aspiration prayers, is called the King of Aspiration prayers because it is the King of Aspiration prayers, in that it is especially powerful, especially great in its blessing. And so the Bodhisattva Norzang, for many lifetimes, countless lifetimes. Gari kalpa la gari la yin. Kalpa. So in his life as the Bodhisattva Norzang, he underwent great difficulty, great hardship, and met 110 different lamas in this search and finally was able to, came across this King of Aspiration prayers and was able to benefit limitless sentient beings. And so he endured, great hardship, great difficulty. And through that also there is greater power and merit than that has come or is in this prayer as a result. And so of Dinidi Kari Gyawa Dina Jangchip Simba Jela Dila and so he also came across or connected with each of the 8 close sons or bodhisattvas, Chenrezig and Bhadrapani and so on and so forth, and finally Samantabhadra, in which then the fruition of this aspiration prayer that became, so filled with incredible blessing came about, through that auspicious meeting. And so then Bodhisattva Norzang made this aspiration, that whoever comes into contact with this, whoever even sees it, whoever recites it, whoever, makes sort of basically any connection in any way. whoever hears it, may all of their obscurations be purified. Even if there is the karma to be born in the 3 lower realms, may that be thoroughly purified. And may all beings who hear this aspiration prayer, make any connection with it, may all their obscurations be purified, may they swiftly attain liberation and be led to the state of complete, awakening, or may they achieve the awakening of, complete Buddhahood. And so, and everything, all of the aspirations that are there in the prayer that are such pure aspirations, really there's great, truth in those words and great power in saying them.
Oda tini ta yatanga so ti lama jatsa ji temba tensa la so bada tindi be jeshet ji phayore na tu yamarawa tini ta kono di question jema de re ta ko ji the visualization chi to na be yakbores temato na tini ta maying ba chi ne tini sexy wo ton hana de gores.
And there's not dutu kare yo tata dutu yo mare la yembe.
Yeah, we have, so there are details, also this Norzan, he reached the 110 lamas, so this sort of long story, so maybe we can possible next time. But also, yeah, this reciting you visualize is great. If not, then just you clearly reading and not other thoughts, So.
So that was actually also to answer what he was saying about do we put our attention on visualizing what we're saying as we read it? And so the answer is yes, that as you read it, you try to be conscious of the meaning that you're reading. Visualize. So if you can visualize, that's good. But if you can't, then to just try not to be distracted.
Okay. So no question? Okay, so your dedication.
Okay, page 24. By the virtues collected in the 3 times, by myself and all beings in samsara and nirvana, and by the innate root of virtue, may I and all beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Takumpa Ratnashri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, master of interdependence, continue and increase through study, practice, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. And now to page 19. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn, may it arise. Where it is born, may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. Chaham Chub Sem Chorin Poshe Ma Ke Palam Ge Kyurje Ke Panyam Pame Payam Gong Ne Gong Du Pelvarsho Chang Chu Sem Chorin Boshe Ma
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Good
See you
night.
tomorrow, 2 o'clock.
Tomorrow.
Thank you.
I'm not sure.
Feliz noche. Gracias a todos. Gracias, Soldi.
Thank you. Thank you. Good night.